NFL Live out of Miami, and this is from our Adam Schefter. The Dolphins have had trade discussions with the Pittsburgh Steelers about their lone Pro Bowl selection last season, tight end Jonnu Smith, per league sources. Those talks came after Smith expressed an interest in reworking his deal that is scheduled to pay him $4.8 million this season. Now, with Smith seeking a new contract, Miami has sought a trade partner. Last season, Smith set the franchise record for a tight end in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. Smith's preference, per sources, is to stay in Miami under a reworked deal. And that is not all from Miami. Here's the latest tweet from Jalen Ramsey as the team explores options to trade him. For the record, BTW, I've loved every city I've played in and the fans who supported. The anger is very misplaced at times, but sometimes valid too. But real ones know the intentions always solid. And how about the guy that said he wanted out at the end of last season? Wide receiver Tyreek Hill met with the media yesterday as the Dolphins' voluntary OTAs got underway.
Every day you got to prove like who you are. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter, how much you've earned or how much success you've had in this league. It's always the next day mentality. And that's something that, my grandparents raised me by. And that's something that Mike preaches, here in this locker room. So every day I'm trying to prove myself as one of those guys that, this team can depend on in crucial moments. So I'm going to stand on that too, though, because that's just me as a person, as a player, as an individual. So I try to carry myself in that way.
Mike Tannenbaum, boy, fun times being a GM there in Miami. If you could place yourself in that front office, and we know Chris Greer does a terrific job, but what would your top priority be?
Yeah, well, first of all, starting with Jalen Ramsey, it's not if, but when. And what's going on there is there's guaranteed money. And as you alluded to in our meeting earlier, there's also the June 1st rule that they have to contemplate. Those are hard dynamics, guys, because not only are you negotiating draft choice compensation, but you're also negotiating who's paying what. That's hard to do. Hey, we want you to take the whole salary. No, Miami. You're going to eat 50%, 60% of it. So it's really hard when you're negotiating a guaranteed salary because they're two simultaneous negotiations. It looks like this is going to happen. It's just a matter of, again, not if, but when. As it relates to Jonnu Smith, look, he had a great year last year. 29 years old, 8 touchdowns, 88 catches. He wants more money, understandably, going to last year of his deal. When you connect the dots, look, Arthur Smith's the guy that used a lot of tight ends, offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh. So this is obviously an economic play. And lastly, on Tyreek Hill, just show up every day, stack one good day on top of the next, and let's make some progress.
Yeah, you mentioned June 1st. The Finns are going to save almost $10 million against the cap if they trade Ramsey after that date. So we'll wait a few days on that one. Okay. Good job there. New on NFL Live. Meanwhile, the Raiders with several key new faces this season. Chip Kelly talking about working with his new quarterback.
Gino's literally like a second coach. When you're in that room with him and Greg Olsen, it's, there's a lot of ideas going around, and then it's just a matter of corralling it, because sometimes you can have too many ideas. Like, let's try to do a million things, and then you don't get good at one thing. But, his football acumen is really off the charts. It's impressive to be around him.
In many ways, it's a dream come true because I've always revered, Coach Kelly, and I've always thought he's been an excellent coach throughout his career and a guy who I've, really, wanted to play for, even back then when I was in high school. It didn't work out that way, but, God works in mysterious ways, and here we are today in Las Vegas.
Your expectations. We got Carroll and Smith 2.0, right? Then we got a little Chip Kelly thrown in there. How do you see this working?
Credibility. Okay, that's the one word. There's an old Jimmy Johnson line. He told Bill Belichick one time that in the NFL, 24 of the 32 teams just get out of your way. And more often than not, over the past, let's say, 23 years, the Raiders have been one of those teams that just gets out of your way. Let the good teams handle the playoffs, winning playoff games, that sort of thing. The Raiders are never in that hunt. I think what Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly are going to build, along with Geno Smith, instant credibility, 8-9 win seasons. You'll never get 15 wins out of this crew, but you're going to get constant competition. I think the AFC West is going to be probably the hardest division in football because there's no easy outs because of teams like the Raiders improving. Geno Smith had 40 touchdowns of over 10 air yards in his 2 seasons under Pete Carroll. The Raiders last year had 9 total of those, okay? That's the floor being raised. Chip Kelly reinvented himself in the last few years of the college game. He is not the up-tempo guy anymore. He huddles. He has a run game situation that is a lot better than he did a decade ago. It is a different Chip Kelly.
Yeah, you know who reinvented himself? Kevin Clark. I knew him as a young, enterprising reporter. Now every other word is wingfoot this.
And by the way, when you were the Jets GM, he gave you a hard time.
Yes,
right?
he did. And now he's a scratch golfer. And so talk about reinventing themselves. We got one right here. Anyway, I digress. There is a nuance going on here, which is if we're the Raiders guys and we're driving to the stadium, we have a chance to go win the game. Similar to what Kevin said, Pete Carroll's going to play good defense, and it's Ashton Genty. And one of the things, Hannah, that I really liked about him was how productive he was out of the backfield at Boise State. 80 catches. You're going to see a lot of long handoffs to Ashton Genty, and you're going to play keep away from the likes of what we talked about in the A block. Patrick Mahomes, Bo Nix, Justin Herbert. You want to go win the game? Shorten it. Keep those great offenses off the field. And the best way to do that is take the Marshawn Lynch out of Seattle, make him Ashton Genty in Vegas.
Such a great pick. Absolutely loved it. And listen, you want to be entertaining in Vegas, right?
Yep.
So here we go. All right, guys. And with their quarterback back, how about the Rams? That offense.
I mean, he looks like Rasheed. I mean, I think having the injury was it sucked, but happening so early in the season, he was back like right when the off season started, and so he was up here working hard, extremely hard, and he was back home working extremely hard. And so I was throwing with him in Dallas a little bit, and then getting him back out here, and there's no limitations. He's out there playing, he's making plays on the football field, he's explosive, he looks fast, and I mean, you saw the start of last season. I think he can be one of the best receivers in the league, and so just to have him, to add with Xavier and Hollywood and all these other guys that we have, it's another position I think Veach has done a great job of bringing in competition, so that we can go out there and make a lot of plays happen.
Yeah, and listen, he's going to be looking to get that deep ball going again this season. In Mahomes' first 6 seasons, he actually ranked top 3 in QBR and touchdown to interception ratio when throwing at least 20 yards downfield. But the last 2 seasons, that's a different story. Mahomes ranks in the bottom 3 in completion percentage over expectation and touchdown to interception ratio. And obviously, that's not all on him. The Chiefs receivers dropping nearly 7% of his passes during that time. But he mentioned the receivers, Mikey T, also as we know, Kelsey decided to come back. How do you like this offense going into next season?
I like all those things, everything that you listed, everything that Patrick Mahomes talked about, if he's protected well. Guys, he was pressured at the 6th highest rate. Now, give them credit. They threw a lot of resources. They signed Jalen Brown, someone who's a little bit under the radar, hasn't started a lot. They drafted Josh Simmons, who's very talented, coming off a big injury. If that solidifies protection, which it didn't in the Super Bowl, this offense evolves because, as you mentioned, Hannah, when you think about Xavier Worthy and a healthy Rashee Rice, obviously dealing with the suspension, this is a different offense than Travis Kelce. Plus, they have 2 really good runners in Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. So, assuming that they can protect Patrick Mahomes, I think this is a different offense, a more explosive one.
The fact that the Kansas City Chiefs were the only team in the NFL last year who averaged less than 3 air yards per completion is a football tragedy. We remember what it looked like when he was able to go deep on seemingly every pass. And when I look at the tape now, he just seems uncomfortable, Mahomes, when he's going deep. And you can talk about the offensive line. You can talk about the fact that he doesn't have chemistry with his new kind of deep threats. Xavier Worthy was a rookie, obviously, last year. Rashee Rice was hurt. Hollywood Brown was hurt. But there's no excuse for being worse in adjusted completion percentage on deep passes than Daniel Jones and Cooper Rush last year, okay? Mahomes talked about this a couple of weeks ago. He said this is him either missing throws or not taking them, not pulling the trigger on those throws. I want to see more comfort out of him. I understand defenses play him differently with the too high looks, but there's still opportunities around the sideline area. I want to see better chemistry with Xavier Worthy.
Well, the best way to be more comfortable in the pocket as a quarterback is to have better protection. Mike T, you alluded to it earlier. I want to make point to one name, Kingsley Suamataia. He was drafted to be a tackle last year, likely going to move into left guard to replace Joe Thuney, and in the draft of Josh Simmons. I think that these 2 young players, Simmons being a first-round pick, Suamataia being a second-round pick out of BYU, are going to be huge, not just early in the season, but late in the season. These 2 young players are going to have to go against Khalil Mack early, talking about Josh Simmons playing Khalil Mack, and then week 2 they play the Philadelphia Eagles. And so I think it might be a struggle early for the offensive line, but that early exposure to some dominant defensive players will prepare the young players for the future, i.e. playoffs and potentially another Super Bowl run.
Sam, just to follow up on something Kevin said, I got to work with the great Rex Ryan. Just ask Rex if he's great. He'll be the But he always talked about how pressure impacted the eye level of the quarterback. And going back to what Kevin was saying about those statistics, guys, that is certainly what has happened. The pressure has impacted even someone as great as Patrick Mahomes, his eye level. With better protection, he'll have confidence to step up in the pocket, and hopefully they'll get that explosiveness back.
And that's one thing people forget about. When I think about football, we all talk about the quarterback and the quarterback play. But as a guy who was a pass rusher, as an edge rusher, if I can beat my guy one-on-one, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. If I get there before the quarterback has a chance to get the ball out, all of a sudden I win. And so, yes, you could talk about all, getting sacked, all those things. He needs protection. And I think that's exactly why you saw Andy Reid so excited about Josh Simmons. That's why they're making the move. They kept Trey Smith. They didn't let him go in free agency because they understand the importance of protection for Patrick Mahomes.
Biggest news of Reid said that Josh Simmons, the first-round pick, is ahead of schedule with his injury. If he's healthy, if he can get a starting spot, that changes everything and just solves pretty much everything we're talking about right now.
Yeah, we'll see how quickly all of those new faces, new